All right, test question or test number 2, question number 9. Gives us the quadratic equation y equals negative x squared plus 8x minus 7. Remember, here's a form over here is in standard form. Question letter number A asks us which direction does a parabola open? Well, that all determines by our A value. In this case, our A value is a negative 1, and since it's negative, we know that it's going to open down, or in the downward direction. So we know the parabola already is going to open downwards. Now, for part B, it asks us to find the vertex. Remember, the formula to find the vertex, if we're going to find the x-coordinate of the vertex, it's a negative b over 2a. And in this case, if we get our values, we know our a value is a negative 1, our b value is an 8, and our c value is negative 7. So plugging this into a formula, our x-coordinate equals a negative b, which is a negative 8, over 2 times a, which is a negative 1. Which comes out to be negative 8 over a negative 2, or simply a positive 4. Now to find out, that again, the vertex is an ordered pair. It's a location. So there's the x-coordinate that goes along with it. To find out the y-coordinate, we just substitute that 4 back into the original equation, and for wherever we see an x, we substitute in. So y equals negative 4 squared plus 8 times 4 minus 7. So this comes out to being negative 16 plus 32 minus 7, or ends up being a positive 9 when we simplify it all out. So the ordered pair of the vertex location is 4, 9. That's how we find out the vertex. Now, for part C, it asks us to find the y-intercept. And there's a bunch of ways we can do the y-intercept, but the easiest way is, remember, the y-intercept, the x value is going to be 0. So we go back to the original equation to find out the y-intercept. To find out the y-intercept, we go back to the original equation and substitute 0 in for wherever we see the x. So y equals negative 0 squared plus 8 times 0 minus 7. And that obviously comes out to being 0 plus 0 minus 7, or simply y equals negative 7. So the y-intercept has the location. Remember, the y-intercept is also an ordered pair. So that location is 0, negative 7. And that's how we find the y-intercept. To find out the x-intercepts, it's a little tougher. We're going to draw up a calculator on this one, and we'll show you how to do it with the calculator. Alright, now to do the graph the parabola, I'm going to graph it negative x squared plus 8x minus 7. And then I'm also going to graph a line y equals 0, which ends up being a line right on top of the x-axis. So when I graph this, I have my parabola show up, which opens downwards, which I can now see. And you can see this line going along right along there. What I'm doing is I'm graphing another line on top of the x-axis. What that allows me to do now is to use my second trace function to calculate the intercept of the two lines that I just graphed. So I'm going to bring up my little bug, and I'm going to go second traced, and go down to option number 5, which is my intersect, and ask me if that's the first line. Yep. And that's the second line I'm interested. Yes. And my ends up being the first location is x, 1. So I have a x-intercept at 1, 0. Now for my other intercept, which is going to be located over here, I need to get my bug over there a little bit. So I hit second trace again, except this time when I do the intercept, I got to move my bug over closer to that other side to get that intersection. So I move them a little closer, and then I hit enter 3 times, and my 7, 0. So my other intercept button is x-intercept is 7, 0. So for letter D, my two intercepts are 1, 0 and 7, 0. And the axis of symmetry, when I'm looking for the axis of symmetry, is I'm looking for that line that goes right down the middle here. And remember, that goes through the vertex, and it corresponds to the x-coordinate of the vertex. So to find out the axis of symmetry for letter E, For the letter E, my axis of symmetry, I look at my x-coordinate of the vertex, which is in this case 4, and I gotta draw a vertical line going through the point 49, which ends up being just x equals 4. So that's how I found out my axis of symmetry.